Hello and welcome back, lonely human, whoever is watching. This is episode 2 of Madran plays the Ur-Quan Master HD mod, and we will pick up where we left. Let's talk to the Starbase
Welcome
commander.
back, Captain.
I was collecting the minerals of the moon, nothing much else. So let's unload.
The more minerals you bring us, Captain, the faster we'll be able to tackle the Ur-Quan.
Before proceeding, I will need some additional bed count information.
Certainly, Captain. What do you need to know?
Would you elaborate on your facilities here at the Starbase?
We can modify your precursor ship, build additional combat vessels, and supply you with fuel and crew.
What can you do to enhance and modify the Battlecat? DD Battlecat. And maybe the name was a mistake.
Our engineers and precursor specialists agree with the scientists from your world that your starship was designed to be a workhorse vehicle, which can be easily reconfigured for different missions by adding or swapping self-contained equipment packs, which we call modules. The modules we can build right now are thruster units, which make your ship move faster, attitude jets, which allow you to rotate the ship more quickly, crew pods, which provide life support facilities for up to 50 additional crew members, storage bays, which increase your ship's cargo capacity for mineral resources, fuel tanks, which hold an additional 50 units of fuel, dynamos, which feed energy into your combat energy batteries, improving your weapon's rate of fire, and last but not least, ion bolt guns, combat weaponry, the exact function of which depends on its location aboard the ship. When put in the first or front module slot, it fires a single shot forward. When put in the second slot, it fires 2 shots, spread to the left and right of center. When put in the third slot, it fires 2 shots directly, left and right. And when put in the last or rear slot, it fires a single shot straight backwards.
How will I get fuel for the Battlecat?
This base is designed to service hierarchy ships. Fortunately, your flagship uses the same stabilized antimatter technology as hierarchy vessels and will be able to synthesize what you need. However, due to the size of your ship, we'll have to produce vast quantities of fuel, which will be a substantial drain on our resources.
How can I assemble a fleet of fighting ships?
Our shipyard facilities are sophisticated and fully automated, permitting a handful of Starbase personnel to do the same job as 500 vac-suited construction workers. However, the only designs that we had in our computers were incomplete hierarchy ship design. Things looked grim until one of the officers came forward with an amazing story. Even though the Ur-Quan destroyed every Earthling cruiser in the fleet nearly 20 years ago, one of my maintenance engineers was a Starship production assistant at the Detroit shipyard. When Earth was conquered, she was ordered to destroy all ship construction databases, but she secretly made copies of the blueprint discs and then kept them with her ever since. These discs contain all the data we need to build as many Earthling cruisers as you want, provided you, Captain, can supply the large amounts of mineral resources required to build those vessels. In theory, Captain, we could build alien starships here if we had designs for them. However, it's a well-known fact that alien vessels just can't be flown in combat without native starship captains at the helm.
Super awesome! How will we acquire additional personnel for my ship?
We have almost 2,000 highly motivated, skilled professionals aboard this starbase, and every single one of them wants a berth aboard your starship. However, each hand we lose to your ship means less manpower here at the starbase, and this is reflected in the crew RU cost. As long as you don't lose too many crew members to combat or planet exploration, the RU cost will remain static. But we have only so many warm bodies on this starbase, and if your needs for crew grow beyond a certain point, the cost could increase dramatically.
Would you please explain your resource allocation system?
As you know, Captain, we've committed the entire output of this station to building your flagship and your battle fleet into the strongest force possible. However, our resources are very limited, and we feel you must decide how we are to spend our effort and material. To aid you in making these decisions, we have implemented a resource allocation scheme. We provide you with a numerical assessment of the station's resources and ascribe a cost to each task we can perform and each device we can build. It's up to you to decide how you're going to spend your resource units, or RU as we call them. To acquire more RU, you must bring resources back to the starbase. These resources can be either in the form of mineral ores gathered from planet surfaces or already refined metals and other valuable materials from the wreckage of enemy starships.
What kind of resources are the most useful to our mission?
The most straightforward way you can accumulate resource units is to bring mineral ores back to this starbase. There are probably enough resources in just the nearby dozen stars to build your ship into a powerful battleship or to create a strong task force of combat vessels. I would also recommend that you build several additional storage bays. When gathering minerals, focus on cleaning out one star system at a time. This way you minimize the cost of travel through hyperspace.
What use are our planet landers' sophisticated lifeform analysis features?
While I respect your search for abstract knowledge, frankly, Captain, in our present circumstances, I see little use for such data here. Perhaps you could make use of biological information elsewhere.
I've answered my questions.
What else can I tell you?
Would you elaborate on your facilities here at the
We can
starbase?
modify your precursor ship, build additional...
Oh, we already had it.
What else
Thank
can
you.
I tell you?
I would like some historical
What aspect
data.
of history, Captain?
I would like to know about the other starfaring
Which
races.
group of aliens?
Oh, I have to decide. The members of the Old Alliance.
Okay. Which race?
The Shofixti.
The Shofixti are a race of intelligent marsupials who had been civilized for only a few decades when the war began. They were discovered in the Delta Gorno star system by the Yehat, who adopted and then uplifted the Shofixti, giving them advanced technology and cultural definition. Shofixti are noble and fearless warriors, Captain. In addition, their incredible fecundity and rapid maturation rate kept Alliance ranks solid even at the worst part of the war. You know, I once flew as an observer aboard one of their ships on routine patrol. We never saw the enemy, but I could never stop thinking about the glory device it had strapped to the bottom of its hull.
The glory device.
The Yehat are a race of ancient warrior clans that have been traveling the stars for many centuries. Clans are highly competitive and sometimes even wage war on each other, but the clans are all loyal to the Queen and her royal family, known as the Veepzeeps. The Veepzeeps have been in power for over 2,000 years, and it is said that during their rule, the Yehat never lost a battle. I'd like to think I'm not a bigoted person, Captain, especially when it comes to allies, but there's just something about those Arilu that gives me the creeps. One thing I'll say for them, though, they possess some technique for moving really fast through hyperspace. They never let us know what it was, but sure beats the pants off our fastest ships. The Shenjasu were leaders of the Alliance, even though they refused to accept formally the title. I don't know if their silicon-based biology is just plain superior to our old carbon model, or if their fantastic intellect were the product of an ancient, peaceful culture. Whatever the reason, I'd rather be taking orders from a Shenjasu than any other life form, absolutely. One of the more amazing things about them was they never used hyperwave communicators. They could send messages naturally, and their natural hyperwave receptors were much more sensitive than even our best units. We didn't really get much of a chance to learn about those mechanical beings, but I'll tell you what I know. They're the product of a distant, unknown culture who sent a giant factory arc into our region of space many centuries ago. The Mother Arc, that's what the Earth Press called it, churned out millions of robots and finally broke down. I don't know why the Myrnaherm didn't repair the Mother Arc. Maybe they can't. My personal guess as to why they were sent here is that they're on the leading edge of a colonization project. And once the Myrnaherm have tamed enough new worlds, the genuine colonists, whoever they are, will arrive and claim their due. Most raw recruits saw the Siren as nothing more than warm, breathing pin-ups. Warm they are, and yes, they do breathe most magnificently, but Captain, they are far more than simple joy units. The history shows that the Siren established and maintained a peaceful culture from their Bronze Age through their discovery of starflight. before their planet was destroyed in a horrible cataclysm, their world was an Eden. What other group of aliens are you interested in?
The battlefronts in the hierarchy.
Which species?
Mycon.
Mycons are hard to get a handle on. In fact, I'm not sure any human has ever had a real conversation with a Mycon. What we know of them, we've learned from their corpses, which, I may add, have a nasty habit of coming back to life when thawed out from a decompression quick freeze. Mycon ships seem to expend a significant amount of energy on life support. This is probably because the Mycon only thrive in temperatures close to the melting point of lead. As far as we know, the Mycon are the only race to actively seek out the Ur-Quan in order to become combat slaves. Imagine facing a cowardly, mobile clam armed with a howitzer. You've got a good idea of what it's like dealing with a Spathi. Although they tend to avoid battles as much as their masters will allow, once in battle, a Spathi eluder is one tough cookie. I once heard a rumor, though I don't like to believe in it myself, that a rogue band of courageous Spathi broke away from the main Starfleet, painted their ships black with bright red stripes, and formed the Black Spathi Squadron, dedicated to performing brave and hostile deeds. Like I said, I'd have to see it to believe it. It's unfortunate that the Umga fell to the Ur-Quan so early in the war, because I suspect we would have gotten along well with those big blob creatures. At the very least, it would have been entertaining. We know them a bit better than most races because they were eager to talk with our ships before, after, and during battle. The Arilu intimated that they had a relationship with the Umga before the Ur-Quan arrived, but I don't know any details. When I was flying combat missions along the Corward front, there was nothing we feared more than the Androseth hit-and-run squadron. Their blazer ships were more than a match for our cruisers, so we stayed clear of Eta Vulpeculae, their home star. In addition, I think each of us aboard the ship knew deep down in our hearts that the Androseth had a damn good reason for hating us. Our grandparents had kept them as slaves for nearly 50 years.
The remaining system is Eta Vulpeculae. Maybe I have to remember this.
I still have nightmares about those spiders taking me prisoner, using me as one of their 6 sacrifices to Dogar and Kazon, their twin gods of destruction and torment. Those guys were almost as scary as the Androseth to those of us in Deep Space Patrol. Their Avenger ships could appear out of nowhere and melt a cruiser down to slag in seconds. Luckily for us, the bulk of the Ilrath fleet was thrown against the Chenjesu and the Murnaherm. The Starship Far Voyager under the command of Captain Jeffrey L. Rand encountered the Bucks near Beta Mira. Although the details are hazy, it's generally accepted that Rand offended the Buck Starship commander with an inadvertent insult. What other group of aliens are you interested in? None that we had made formal contact with. The Chenjesu implied that they had met 2 other star-faring species, one near the Gicklus constellation and the other directly Corward from Procyon. The Arilu Lalile once mentioned having some fun with an alien race in Draconis, but like so much else with the Arilu, they never revealed the whole story. I'm sure there are hundreds more alien races in our galaxy, but beyond what I've told you, your guess is as good as mine. Would you like information on any other aspect of history?
Oh, tell me more. About the war.
What about the war? Earth got involved late in the game in 2112 when the Chenjesu arrived in our solar system for the first time. So let's back up a few years to 2098 when the Chenjesu super-sensitive receivers detected a strange signal from the Ophiuchi constellation. Though even the Chenjesu didn't know it, it was the first sign of the Ur-Quan's arrival. The Ur-Quan, having detected the presence of many sentient species, were beaming out an exulting hunting cry. First direct evidence of the Ur-Quan's intent was the sudden conquest of the Umga, a solitary though not unfriendly species in the Orionis constellation. The Chenjesu, distraught by the invasion, were further angered when the Ur-Quan turned their fleets on the hostile but weak Ilrath race. A hastily assembled defense force of Murnaherm and Chenjesu vessels turned the Ur-Quan fleet aside, but the invader moved into Spathi space, rapidly subjugating that race. With each new conquest, the Ur-Quan fleet grew larger as it added slave vessels to its ranks. Earth joined the Chenjesu to form the Alliance of Free Stars at about the same time as the Androsynth stars fell to the Ur-Quan armada. Before the ink was dry on our agreement with the Chenjesu in 2116, a new race appeared in orbit around the moon and asked for admittance to the Alliance. It was the Arilu Lalile. Timing seemed unusual, and the Arilu were definitely weird, looking like saucer men from Mars, but we were too busy cranking up our mothballed heavy industry that we really didn't pay it much attention at the time.
I really should write down all those names of the planets. It will be useful later. Just look. Yada yada yada. Orionis constellation. Let's write it down. Orionis. Okay. What happened during the war?
At the start of the war, here on Earth, we were working like crazy, churning out hundreds of heavy cruisers and smaller support vehicles. The Ur-Quan were busy too. Unbeknownst to us, they had moved down towards the Luton Star Group and were attacking the Vox, who only the Yehat knew existed. Our Vox first contact with the Vox took place in 2119, and it was the biggest single mistake we made during the war. After defeating the Vox, the Ur-Quan fleet ran smack into the combined might of the Yehat and Shofixti, supported by the first wave of our cruisers. Again, the Ur-Quan turned away from the hard spot to attack the weak, though we just thought they were running away. In fact, the Ur-Quan had found another independent alien race, the Mycon, in the Brahi constellation. The Mycon's voluntary submission to the Ur-Quan brought the return of the Ur-Quan fleets, now swollen with 100 devastating Mycon pod ships. The last entrants to the conflict were the Cyrene, a race of space gypsies who had escaped the hierarchy by moving their vast fleet of slow-moving habitats into human space. With the side set, the last Ur-Quan offensive began.
You read again? First contact, yada yada. Luiten. I wrote it correct. Awesome. Books in Luiten. How did the war end?
The Ur-Quan came roaring through Buck space and tried to push past the India and Mira star systems. Their onslaught was barely repulsed, and our counterattack made hardly a dent of the hierarchy forces, but we held the line. The Corward front remained intact. Over the following 10 years, there were many great battles between the combined Alliance Starfleet and the Ur-Quan and their hierarchy of battle thralls. Then in 2134, a dramatic shift in the balance of power took place. This must have been about the time the science research mission was sent to the planet of Vela. Our fleets were pushed back from the Indy-Mira line beyond Raynet. Holding Rigel caused grievously in Chenjesu forces, and the Ur-Quan, recognizing this weakness, shifted to focus the brunt of their forces on Procyon. That was the last we heard from the Chenjesu and the Murnaher. A few weeks later, waves of ships hit us from all directions. When Ceres Station, our outpost on the asteroid belt, fell to the hierarchy, we knew we were beaten, but we fought on anyway. 3 days later, the Ur-Quan vaporized our last remaining laser forts on the moon, and the dreadnoughts took up geosynchronous position above Rome, Moscow, Beijing, Tokyo, London, Buenos Aires, and Washington. We'd lost the war, and we knew it. But the Ur-Quan decided to make it real clear. And that's why if you check any of our most recent maps, you won't find Buenos Aires.
Chenjesu and Murm are in the Procyon. Okay. Let's write it down. What happened after the war? Tell me.
After the UN submitted their formal surrender, we were given a week to decide the nature of our servitude. The Ur-Quan demanded that the decision be made through popular vote. When all the votes were tallied, Earth had chosen not to fight for the Ur-Quan. We had become a fallow slave world. We were given a month to withdraw all of our people and equipment to Earth. Anyone or anything left off planet would be destroyed after the shield went up. Then the Ur-Quan broadcast an odd message. All objects of human construction more than 500 years old were to be abandoned. We didn't know what the Ur-Quan meant until they moved their dreadnoughts into new orbital positions and opened fire on the surface with their fusion weapons. In seconds, large sections of London, Paris, and other European cities were incinerated. At first, we thought they were going to annihilate us after all. And we noticed they were also striking such targets as the Giza Pyramids, the Parthenon in Athens, and Stonehenge. Curiously, the United States was almost untouched. The flaming rain lasted 40 hellish hours. It took days after we crawled from our smoldering shelters to realize what the Ur-Quan had done. Our new masters had targeted every building, monument, or other man-made construction older than 500 years and destroyed it. In those 2 days, we lost most of the history of mankind. In some cases, the Ur-Quan destroyed places we did not even suspect were significant. From their positions in orbit, the dreadnoughts blew away a kilometer of land in central Iraq, vaporized several targets in the Amazon rainforest, punched a big hole through the Antarctic ice cap to destroy something deep under the surface, and melted a broad swath of the ocean floor in the southeastern Atlantic. Then, just a couple of days later, the shield went up, and our contact with the outside world stopped. The next time I saw the stars was 8 years ago, when I was transferred up here to be the new commander of this starbase.
I wonder how the shield is powered. Maybe we will find out. Thanks for the briefing.
Would you like any information on any other aspect of history?
I need some information on ancient galactic history.
We have some data on this subject. What do you want to know about?
What can you tell me about the precursors?
Well, you probably know more about them than I do, but here goes. About 200,000 years ago, when our great-to-the-nth grandparents were just starting to play with stone knives and bearskins, a star-faring species suddenly appeared on the galactic scene and spread like wildfire. We found evidence of their presence just about everywhere, from an orbital platform on Alpha Centauri to a stack of data plates in a cave on Pluto to some nameless widget found in a voodoo shop in New Orleans. We never found a precursor body or even a picture of one. We can conjecture what they look like by examining the scale and layout of their equipment. Such an analysis indicates they were giants, say 5 to 8 meters tall and twice as wide. I don't know if they looked more like a brontosaur or an elephant. Anyway, about 3,000 years after the precursors made their dramatic appearance, they vanished. Poof! As far as we can tell, it took less than a decade to happen.
What about outward races?
You mean besides the precursors? Well, the only information we have is secondhand based on some research by a Chenzetsu historian that I read at the Academy. Zensert-Sek, the historian, found some evidence that there was a group of alien races who formed an interstellar empire not too far from here about 22,000 years ago. The only species in this empire who actually lived in our region of space was a race of rock-like creatures who lived in the Vulpeculae constellation. The presence of the hostile androsynth in that part of space severely limited Zensert-Sek's research. He never even found out the race's name.
Rock people in Vulpeculae. Are there any indications?
Yes, there is. Aside from the precursor relics we have found on Earth, often in museums mislabeled as modern art, we've discovered disturbing evidence of much more recent visitations. Perhaps you're already aware that during the mid to late 20th century, there were unaccountable UFO sightings as well as dozens of reported encounters with alien life forms. Although we can discount many of the reports as wishful fabrication or traumatic translation, the military authorities of the time kept a secret record of the incidents which were legitimate. In each such case, the aliens are almost identical in appearance. They have white skin and minimal facial features except for huge almond-shaped eyes, which are often described as glowing or luminescent. This description fits almost perfectly the Arielu Lalile. In most of the legitimate encounters, the people involved describe being physically examined or modified by the aliens. In some cases, unusual pregnancies occurred, and in almost every instance, there were repeat visitations as though the Arielu Lalile were doing checkups on their subjects. We never got the chance to confront the Arielu Lalile about what they did to us and why. I wonder if we ever will.
I like the name. Arilu Larilei.
Would you like information on any other aspect of history?
No more history, thank you.
Anything else?
I would like your input on how to defeat the Ur-Quan.
Can you be more specific?
Yes, I can.
If you have the patience, I would recommend you spend several months or even a year gathering mineral resources. You can find such minerals on almost any planet surface, but the quality and density will vary depending upon the type of planet you're on. Base metals are probably the most common materials you'll find, but they aren't particularly valuable. You can find rarer precious and radioactive elements on metal-rich worlds such as Mercury. An old miner once told me that you could tell the relative quality of a planet's minerals based on the planet's color as seen from space. Remember the color sequence from good to bad? The miner had a mnemonic that went something like, very young orangutan could grow bananas perhaps rather well. It is also the case that mineral yields will be better at hotter stars. Temperature is related to the size and color of a star. Red stars are the coolest, then orange, yellow, green, blue, and the hottest stars are white.
Let's look. Mnemonic, very young orangutans could grow bananas perhaps rather well. Violet, yellow, orange, cyan, green, blue, purple, red, white. I think this could be correct.
That all depends on whom you meet, doesn't it, Captain? Well, in all seriousness, if you encounter the Ilrath, Bucks, Androsynth, or other hierarchy battle trolls, I wouldn't hold out much hope for a peaceful encounter. So if you feel you have the advantage, attack. The resources you will scavenge from the enemy's wreckage are well worth the effort. If you can find alliance races who are in a position to help us, then you must convince them to join with us. Their assistance may be crucial to our success.
Awesome. If you were in my shoes, what would you do now?
Let's see.
Yes.
You need to build up and balance the strength of your flagship. I would add thrusters up to, say, 5 or 6. Speed is essential in combat, but it would also pay off over the long haul in hyperspace. And if you prefer to avoid confrontation, nothing beats a great pair of legs. I would add turning jets for increased maneuverability. I would add enough weapons to defend yourself if you're caught without escort ships. You need more crew, at least 50 to make productive voyages into space. You need additional fuel, at least 50 units. Your weapons will be underpowered in combat if you don't have at least 1 dynamo. Use the resource units you have accumulated to improve your flagship.
Okay, how can we deal with the Ur-Quan?
Captain, I wish I had an easy answer, but I don't. The only way I can see of liberating Earth as well as the Alliance allies is to destroy the Ur-Quan and their armada of battle thralls entirely.
Commander, do you have any long-range plans to defeat the Ur-Quan hierarchy?
To defeat our enemies, we will need awesome strength, both in your flagship and the fleet, as well as the assistance of powerful new allies. Though combat will be unavoidable and sometimes necessary to achieve our goals, I'm certain your wits will be at least as important as your weapons. You'll need to explore this region of space, gathering resources and information wherever you go.
How can I find the Ur-Quan?
I don't know, Captain, but I suspect their battle thralls know more than we do, so I suggest you try to gather information from them, perhaps by force. At first, your ship will be far too vulnerable to permit frontal assaults on the Ur-Quan. Even when your ship is at full power, we're faced with the reality that the hierarchy has thousands of ships. You cannot win the fight alone, Captain. You need allies. Also, towards the end of the war, when the hierarchy broke through the Corward front, we heard rumors that the Ur-Quan had unleashed some kind of super weapon which was unstoppable by normal means. You need to find out if that rumor was true, Captain, because if the Ur-Quan do have such a weapon, we'll have to find some way to stop it or all our efforts are for naught.
How can I make alliances? By asking nicely. What is the fastest way for us to build up our strength?
You need to accumulate enough resources so we can build up your flagship and assemble a strong fleet. I'd also recommend that you acquire blueprints for other more powerful ships than our trusty cruiser. I suspect that aliens will not give you such prints unless you form an alliance with them.
Okay, let us move on to another topic.
What else can we discuss?
I have learned what I need to know.
What else can I tell you?
Oh, I do not
Fine.
acquire.
Is there anything else you need?
We have all the information we need. Goodbye.
Bring back lots of minerals, Captain.
I will. Try at least. Let us outfit our starship. Let's have a look. So we need fuel, I guess. At least 50, he said. So let's do that. Then modules. Fuel tank, crew pod. Storage bay. Iron bolt gun. Said we need at least one dynamo. Let's buy one dynamo and I'm out of money. Wop, 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 wop. Okay, what can we do in the shipyard? Here I can hire more crew. Then let's fill up our crew. And it is, oh, no, full. So. Save. Cautious. And depart. Now I'm already recording for 30 minutes, so this was a lot of talking. We will collect the remaining minerals on Mercury and then it will be over for this episode. Oh, I'm so fast. Unbelievable. Chaka, chaka, chaka. This one is Mercury. So, I remember in the bottom left of the descriptions you can see weather and tectonics. Tectonics is stuff like fire and earthquakes, and weather are only flashes. I'm not sure, but if it is yellow it can hurt us, and if it's red it is so bad that we don't need to try to land at first. But let's see if we can collect the stuff without dying. Don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. No, no, no. Already full. Ah! Don't kill me! The problem is the fire you can wait. You could wait. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Not very good. Then let us travel back. Maybe we'll collect the resources another time. Because... Go, little starship, you can make it! Yay! Awesome! Let's see. How much? $1,000. $500. So, I will cut the episode here and we will see us the next time. Have a nice day.